Cool.
Thank you, Nate. All right. Okay, so I don't know for everyone if they saw the agenda for today, but I'm going to paste that in the chat so folks know where we are. We do have a lot of teams presenting today, so just to be mindful of the time. Okay. Okay. So
recording in progress.
Okay, very first thing, I'm going to paste in the chat a Google form to our end of the year lab survey. This just helps us know and get feedback on this semester as well as prepare for next semester. So if we could just take the next 10 minutes or so to fill that out and come back around 12:21, that'd be great. Feel free to turn your cameras off, turn your audio off, and just come back when you're done. All right, folks, it's 12:21. I don't see people's cameras turning back on, so I'm think maybe some folks need some more time, maybe until 12:25. Okay, so it is 12:25. For those of you who are joining us a little late, we're taking around 15 minutes to fill out the lab survey. The link is going to be in our Slack channel and I'm going to repost it. But right now we're going to move on to the next presentation, which is going to be Team Data Mural. Emily, you should be co-host and our presentations are available online through this link for those of you who need to follow along visually. Okay. Oops.
Let me start the presentation then. Let me actually do that. Okay, can everyone see this okay? And can everyone hear me okay? Okay. Alright. So, Daniel, and again, here's the member. So, project lead. We have Gloria, who's a communications ethnic research neural design. And we also have Omar, who is our data analyst, neural design lead, and mural group facilitator. And so together we worked on the project throughout the semester. And so today's agenda will be going over the semester review, and Gloria and Omar will each give a description of what went for the ethnic side of the project, as well as need to be future for the side. And then what we as the whole, and then end of semester pass downs, which will just kind of be reiterating what Omar and Gloria said. So yeah, semester review, we did it. We're finally at the end of the semester. But before we go into the semester review, I'll just give a quick project background and overview again. So we compiled and worked with data from the SCRU survey, which is conducted the pandemic 2020.
Hey, sorry to stop you, but your audio is breaking up a little bit, so we can hear kind of skips.
Wait, what's up?
Fix that.
Oh, wait, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I think that's better.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it was cutting off for me as well. And can you see the slides? It should say project background and overview.
Yes.
All right, cool. So we worked with a consortium survey, which was conducted during the height of the COVID pandemic to gauge the experience of students on campus. And in particular, we focused on the experiences of the disabled students community. And we also worked with the undergraduate UC undergraduate experience survey data, which is a bi-weekly, or not bi-weekly, a bi-yearly survey that's conducted basically every 2 years. The students' behalf, and was this data was this data actually representing students, or was it just kind of representing like university initiatives and like what the university values and stuff like that, as opposed to what is actually important to students? And so the way that we went about approaching this problem is by identifying the problems in the current data sets and surveys, and then we hope to work as a community to address them. So in the first phase of this project, we want to students' sentiments regarding their representation in university surveys and collected data, in particular the SCRU survey and the undergraduate experience survey data, by conducting focus groups and by releasing a survey which will gauge students like questions and like concerns and perspectives on this topic. And then during the second phase, we'll have co-creation sessions where we'll design a mural with students and artists together to share the perspectives on student representation in data, in particular disabled student community representation in data. And so we will provide them with the tools to share their thoughts on how to improve these surveys and data sets through the use of art. And so now Gloria will go on and explain how this looked like, this side of the project looked like for ethnographic research.
Okay, thank you, Emily. So this semester review, basically we all started this project. Emily had come up with the idea previously. Omar and I were new to it. And so our first step was really to collaborate and sort of decide what we saw for the trajectory of the project and how we'd be able to manage our time within one semester. So we actually really tried to condense it quite a bit. And the first hurdle that we had to get through, which we still haven't cross the finish line is okay, sorry, I just paused because of the computer speaking. Anyway, for me personally, like when I came to the lab this term, I had never heard I'd never heard disability pronouns used before. And I think that because we were coming from a space of disability, we were thinking about making our survey like that initially, but then we realized that the UC Berkeley community is broad and there are disabled students who might not identify as disabled. So even finding out, why don't you use these terms? Have you used disability services? Do you consider yourself disabled? Was something that it was important to acknowledge in our survey just right off the bat that UC Berkeley doesn't acknowledge. Okay, and after we figure out our focus group, after approval, then we'll be able to move on to our data mural, which is something that we're all really excited about, as well as the different mediums that we'll utilize in order to make it more accessible to folks. We certainly want to like take a video of our data mural and upload it to UDescribe so that more people can be immersed in what the students here have created. Our next step is to continue working on it throughout the summer. As a team, we've discussed what we want to do. We have way less plans. We'll have so many more spoons. We'll be able to get a lot of work done during the summer because I think we're just all really excited and passionate about the project that we're doing. It's simply that we really can't move that much further until we have the approval to move further. So that's where we're at right now. Oh, and these are pictures of what, and we will add the descriptions to our slides moving forward. But this is what some of the questions look like on our data mural survey, just to give you an idea, so you can have a reference point. But you have access to these slides in the file that was just shared. So, thanks.
And so now we'll go over the data science and analysis portion. And thank you, Gloria, for sharing. And so now Omar will give us some insight onto this side of the project.
Well, hi, everybody. My name is Omar. This is Max. Pay no attention to him. So just to kind of give a brief overview of my perspective on the semester project and what the work I've done. Just to audio describe the slide very quickly, is just lots of text on a beige background with different colored splotches on it. But yeah, so essentially the work that I did this semester was working with Emily closely to essentially get all the grunt work done for the data visualizations and data processing that we will be doing moving forward. Refining a public GitHub repository so that we're able to share the data that we collect, the methods we used to refine the data and process it, which brought up some new issues that I'll go over in another slide. We also streamlined the process of downloading and transforming the data in a way that will make it usable, because the data as it was raw wasn't very useful to us at first. And I also created some documentation on data sets that we're using along with Emily as well, to find a uniform way to essentially format everything and do it not in an ad hoc way, but more so formalizing the conventions we are using for labeling the data, properly documenting our process and the methods used. Thank you, Max. Next slide, please. So some of the future plans that I personally have and want to move forward with in terms of the more technical aspect of the project would be to create preliminary data visualizations. And some of the questions that I'm looking to answer in this would be, what is the best way to engage with our data? How can we engage with our subjects using that data? There's many different methods to visualize data, do different graphs, visual mediums. So looking towards what we can do on that front. I would also like to spend time outlining the co-creation methodology and procedure I will be using to work with community members, interested community members and artists that would like to design the mural. Co-creation itself is a interesting and new methodology used in design processes, and I'd like to formalize the way that we would like to move forward and use co-creation. And I'd also like to explore options for alternative engagement with the data mural. These are more plans for once we are well underway with the physical installation. I'm exploring options, including augmented reality, taking oral histories from folks in the disabled community to add them to the data mural experience as an audio format. And to go with that, also an interactive web page where folks can interact with the mural, and we can explore a lot of different options there, adding hyperlinks to different resources, hyperlinks to different stories folks have. This all will be contingent on what the mural looks like. And also creating a data processing toolkit that addresses a lot of the issues that we had personally with accessing the university data. While it's there and it's public, it's not like most things. It wasn't very accessible. It wasn't very easy to use and easy to work with on our end. So I want to kind of explore that issue further and perhaps create a set of digital Python tools that would help with those issues. And here's just the audio described. This is a screenshot of the README document for the Data Mural project repository that's on GitHub now. Just basically showing Emily specifically this part, like creating the directory structure and properly labeling everything, which is nice.
Thank you, Omar. And so now we'll go over what we learned as a team, in addition to what Gloria and Omar described as well. And how long it was going to take as well. So that was definitely something we learned about. We also learned how to access public data sets and properly process them. So this is in particular to what Omar was talking to, and specifically referencing what Omar was talking to at the end about how the university data sets are public, but they're not necessarily accessible and like easy to work with, which is really unfortunate because if people want to engage, if students want to engage with this data themselves, it's a little bit harder to do. So that's what we learned in the logistical side. And then just more widely, like concept theory wise, ideas wise, we leaned into the questions of like, how could university surveys capture student experiences without first having our input, and more so the experiences of disabled students on campus. So asking questions of who gets left out and where are their gaps in these surveys. And then also we learned from different organizations that we connected with throughout the semester, such as the ASU Student Mental Health Commission, who mentioned that little to no data is being collected on students' mental health by the university. So it kind of motivates us further to pursue this project and to really see it to completion. And so yeah, end of semester pass downs. Just reiterating real quickly what Omar and Gloria mentioned, but we want to have focus group questions and outlines solidified. So just having an outline of how the focus group will be conducted, as well as the questions that we will be using during those group sessions. Having an outline for the co-creation sessions, having solidified mural ideas, which we already have, but just kind of documenting them in a Google Doc or in a file where other people can access them in the future. And then having cleaned and sorted data sets, which we are working on as well. But we will continue to pass this down because I think there's more data sets to be used. And then having preliminary data visualizations that students can work from in future semesters. And that's the rest of the slides. This is just a thank you slide with credits to the SlideGo.
But yeah, thank you for listening, and we're here if you have any questions.
Yay, thank you so much, Emily and Omar and Gloria. I don't know if people can see, but we do have the fancy camera set up today. And so you can see the clapping and also virtual clapping and thumbs up.
Are you still muted? What are the future plans? Are you muted, Kyoko?
I'm not muted, but you
What are
are.
what are our future plans for the lab, or I mean for our project rather? Is that the question?
Yes.
Yeah, so this summer we wanted to continue working on the project because I don't know when the IRB approval will come or if we'll have to resubmit. So basically, once that happens, then we'll be able to actually like submit our survey to the student population and see who can respond. And then from there, we can then have our focus group. But a lot of moving forward, at least on like the ethnographic side, relies on that. So assuming we get IRB approval between like now and September, then we'll be able to start moving forward. We plan on continuing the project through the summer.
And into the fall too?
I'm not sure where everybody is going to be in the fall. I think that we've discussed it, and the only thing that we asked is like hopefully we get more people interested, so it's not just like the three of us do. I mean, especially I think on the Omar and Emily can speak more to this about like analyzing the data and stuff that I'm really not that familiar with. I'm not sure where everyone's going to be. I'll be available in the fall, but I won't be enrolled as a student.
Yeah, because I think part of my question is, is this a project we should give to the Disability Cultural Center? Or is this a project that we should keep in the lab? Because I think there's always questions about where to place it, and the DCC might have, better sort of another range of students who could do it.
I think we definitely would welcome just more help generally. I think the technical issues that like moving forward is just kind of sifting through a lot of the data that we're collecting or getting from the public survey and making it into something that folks can really engage with and just kind of observe for like the community to kind of like see. And then from there, the other kind of milestone would be getting into co-creation sessions in which we want to kind of hold consistent time for folks to come and directly contribute to the project as opposed to all of us kind of drafting something up and just kind of getting feedback. We want to create something that's create a process that's much more engaging and inclusive of folks. That might require some more manpower and help in that sense, since it would be folks, hosting sessions, maybe holding specific space for folks to kind of help engage, help, design the mural or just contribute ideas, also exploring that on a virtual front. But those are sort of the future plans in that sense. And I'll be wanting to keep working on it during the summer. And in the fall, I also intend to come back, but I'm not sure if I'll be at the same capacity as I was this semester. But that's kind of an ongoing issue that I'm kind of dealing with on my end with my other scheduling.
If I could ask Moira and Carmen if they had any thoughts on doing your projects and like what makes them succeed, what makes them difficult, especially ones that are coming out of like a community, not like out of a single artist vision.
Yeah, I think, yeah, like responsiveness from community can be a barrier sometimes. Like if you, yeah, depending on where people are at in their capacities and like their energy level, depending on like what connection you have with them. I don't know. Projects that like well, like I can imagine moving into the summer, it might be difficult to get people into the same space.
Yeah.
Too, but I don't know. What do you think, Maura?
Well, from my experience of doing community mural or community garden kind of works or beautiful, I don't really like to use the term beautification, but that's typically what they're under. It's really good to kind of think about what group specifically you want to work with and approach a bunch of different groups instead of just saying, hey, we're going to do a mural and we want to do this. And also to erase that fear of making art, because people who are not artists tend to be afraid of drawing. So to have a couple people who are leading some ideas or some ways of doing, like, you know, painting, are you going to be using, are you going to work with graffiti artists? Are you going to work with mural painters? Because there's still, you know, this great overlap of grassroots movements of mural making. Also can incorporate graffiti, or even mosaicing. Maybe you want to have mosaicing, or think about your materials for different kinds of ways of tactile and haptic ways of understanding things, like even the bottle caps from plastic bottle caps don't get recycled. And those make beautiful kind of textures that you could put on. For example, we did a people, animal, insect, pollinator mural in Syracuse, and we cut out the different shapes of the like butterflies and caterpillars, and we had slugs, we had all sorts of bats and things like that from plywood, and we did that with our group, which was an after-school group of autistic kids from 15 to 21. And so they got to use the tools with guidance and loved that. So they learned something, which was awesome. And then they got to pick whatever animal, and even if it was an animal that did not exist in the area, it was cool. We didn't care. And then we had collected and found all these places, like these recycling places that don't use those caps. And we just glued and also screwed them in to make the colors and make the shapes. And it was really beautiful and gave another tactileness to it, which is a lot easier than mosaic tiling kind of stuff. So thinking of those different ways of touching is really important, and reuse, because materials making murals can be really expensive, particularly if it's just paint. And think different places that can donate those things with you. A place that might be really cool to reach out to for help with that and bring in community that's kind of already built in and not necessarily disabled, but they is the Girls Garage, which Karen.
Oh, you guys, yeah.
Yeah, I've contacted them, and I think that like they just even looking up the Girls Garage website is really great. I love them because there are quite a few places in the US that are doing these let's get girls using tools things, which is awesome. But they work with a core group of artists, and they don't bring in artists. So it's very stable and safe, and there's a lot of trust. So I think like looking at a space like that, an organization like that would give you really great ideas for like co-creation and ways of doing things that build trust, because you definitely want to build trust. And they're just like a really great place to, I think, look at for equity and ways of doing with the community. But I hope that was helpful.
Most definitely. Yeah, thank you.
That was very helpful. Thank you. It's really interesting to look at it from different perspectives like that, because I don't think that was something we considered. So that's really nice. Thank you.
Sure, my pleasure. Thanks.
All right, thank you to Team Data Mural for
do
a
a wave,
great
'cause we're
end
kind
of
of like in
semester
this.
presentation. Yes.
3D space.
Moira, I have you next. If you feel comfortable going, do you want to use my?
I would like to go in a little bit because I have a sound piece that I have to bring up. Is that okay? I don't want to, I know Carmen and I relate.
Yeah, so-
To say
We're
that
on
people
super
wait-
crib time. We're on
Yeah.
crib time plus cow time.
Yay.
Okay, so I
Wayfinding,
guess
not
team
my
toolkit
superpower.
will go. That's going to be me and Abby. We are in the lab today, and I'm just going to share my screen with what we've done on the website so far. We don't have like an official presentation. This is going to be very informal. Sorry about that. But everything is available online on our website for those who do want to follow along, like visually. Okay, so we're going to post our website in the chat and start screen share. Okay, so can y'all see? Okay, cool. Okay, so on our website, work in progress, always a work in progress. At the very top, you see, about projects, campus disability resources, Crip Club Toolkit, and apply to our year app. So we're going to go to the Disability 101 and toggle over here. And this is going to be just information that Abby has graciously compiled for us on different topics relevant to disabled folks, disability justice, Crip culture, etc. Feel free as a lab right now to just go through and check some of these out. This is all available in our Google Drive folder as well for peer feedback, editing, critique, comments, suggestions. Like, we're always going to take those.
Yes, would love comments. I produced it in my own head earlier in the semester, and I've gotten like some feedback on it from another professor, but anything that you stand out, you're like, that hits you the wrong way, you're like, wait, I wouldn't describe it like that, or I like, doesn't make sense to you if you're like new to these terms or anything, I would love to edit it. It's a rough draft. We just wanted to put something up. So
That's great.
Yeah.
Looks great.
So this is our first part of, and it's kind of builds off of this second tab right here. Glossary of terms, and then the Cryptech Manifesto, kind of what this lab tries to go by. And then next, our second part would be the Crip Club Toolkit. We only have one lesson plan up now, but the idea is that,
yeah, we're trying to like the lesson plans are like the core part of the toolkit that we're trying to put together to try and have students, disabled high school students, be able to easily lead their own disability clubs. And so we have some different, we weren't able to get as far along as I had kind of anticipated on like creating lesson plans, but planning on continuing to work over summer and post some more, and hopefully getting at least around 5 posted, and hopefully some more. But yeah, the inspiration forum was just the one we decided to go for first. And I don't know if you wanted to share about the idea behind it.
Yeah, spoons and so on. And the one that we have up now, so this is essentially a 1-hour lesson plan. The idea is that this is what we would give to whoever is hosting the club at their respective high school so that they can hold an after-school hour-long lesson plan. We call it lesson plan, but doesn't need to be called that. Here we have the goals of the quote-unquote lesson. This one having to do with inspiration porn, and it's built around Stella Young's TED Talk. I'm not your inspiration, thank you very much. And
She is. Yeah.
yeah, it's broken down into like exact times just to give some structure, but of course, this is a lesson plan, so it's not going to go by exact time. It's just to give structure. Here we have a 1-minute writing activity. We have a discussion. A lot of this is discussion based, and then the idea, we were going to put up like slideshow presentation materials, but slideshows not being super accessible to a lot of folks, we decided not to put it up, and maybe like all this stuff is the stuff that would have gone on the slideshows, but how can we present it in a way that is more accessible is something that we're going to work on. Here we have some visual aspects, my really terrible notes. And then finally, we have an application that students can do. In this case, having to do with inspiration porn would be getting a bunch of like inspiration porn in a variety of forms, written, visual, audio, and then to have students hopefully apply what they've learned in the 45 minutes prior to go over those materials and talk about them together. So this is just one example of what we hope to continue to put on the website and hopefully create in other spaces other than just at UC Berkeley in this very specific lab.
This is so great.
Yeah,
This is awesome.
yeah, it is. I'm wondering if you would want to call, eliminate the idea of lesson plan.
Yeah.
It sounds too-
And it's
cool.
also schooly, and it's also like I'm disabled and I have to learn another lesson kind of thing.
Yeah.
But why not activity or club
Yeah.
activity or
Yeah.
co-creating
Yeah, like
together?
comments, yeah.
Yeah, and then
Like, cause I thought of like outside, like, you know, like a lot of stuff are just discussion, like what can we talk about?
yeah, like what you could talk about too, which is awesome, because that's a thing
Uh-huh.
we need to share and have conversations, because that helps build trust again in community. But different ways of communication could be like maybe before the lesson plan,
Uh-huh.
whoever's doing, well, the activity you have, because it's always good to prep before those things, because it's a teaching thing, right? Co-learning. So maybe someone gets a bunch of different images
Yeah.
together and you just put them out there.
Yeah.
And people can cut them up and make a
Yeah.
group collage
Yeah.
and then just draw big words on there.
Yeah.
Because it, again, like
Yeah.
from just, and if anyone ever asks me to draw and I'm trained in it, I'm like, no, terrified. So like those kind of things that are low expectation of
Like,
like a talent.
Just get a ton of
thing.
magazines,
Yeah.
like old magazines.
Yeah.
You know,
Or words that you
or
can cut
words.
out, you know, that people
Yeah.
can just put together. They don't even have to glue
Yeah.
them down. You
And
can
I
even
would like have this whole, because I think part of the goal was also, this is like a queer alliance group,
Mhm.
because this is like the Grip Alliance group,
Yeah.
but also to have like this, you know, like build into, have you ever felt because you were a blank
Mhm.
or you were a blank, like you're Hispanic, that people didn't expect you to be able to do?
Uh-huh.
Or they congratulated you for doing good. It's like, hey,
Yeah.
just because I'm Hispanic doesn't mean that I can eat sushi or,
Yeah.
you know, something like that. Yeah, just
Yeah.
like to build like alliances that
Mhm.
so people recognize, yeah,
That really
That's
brings
really-
it into like a disability justice sort of
Yeah.
angle, because
Mhm.
then you're thinking about cross movement solidarity
Mhm.
and like your intersections of identity as well. I think this is great that it's being directed to a high school audience
Yeah.
too, because where are those spaces where you're radicalized into crip culture,
Yeah.
like when you're a young person?
Mhm.
Like if you
Yeah.
have access to a place where you can go meet other people like you, like maybe through a camp or some social hangout or whatever, those are so limited. And
Yeah.
like and they're so highly programmed usually,
yeah.
and like there's monitoring by adults and stuff.
Facilitated, yeah.
This is really great. And I think as much as you can affirm students
Oh,
and
yeah.
and like also so they don't feel like, oh, this is like I have to go to this because I'm disabled. I want to go to this because I'm disabled and I'm and I'm
And it's
cool
fun.
because
And
I'm
it's fun,
disabled.
Yeah.
It's fun. I would meet cool people.
Yeah.
I
I
meet
mean,
people like me.
Yeah.
I meet people not like me. And cool
Yeah.
people.
But
yeah.
I would, you know, that's a big point. I'd like have like at the very beginning, like community guidelines.
Mhm.
Like, you know, this is a place where we don't have fun. People say stupid things. In some ways, we should encourage people to say stupid things
Mhm.
that might hurt someone's feelings, because we should just put it out on the table
Should be
and then learn from
transparent.
it.
Yeah.
You
be
know, but
transparent.
you know, but just be acknowledge. Okay, I said something stupid, and then you told me why it's stupid. And now I realize that was actually kind of ignorant of me to say. But you know, we're still going to be friends.
Yeah.
we
like
create the
flexibility
space.
to mess up.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
messy.
To
learn
be kind to
through-
each other.
Yeah,
Yeah.
be messy and kind. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
there's I'm happy to share the remote access
Oh, yeah.
care stuff that we do
Oh.
with y'all, which might be good to add to this. I'll double check with Amy and Kevin. I'm always sharing it with people, but and I was like, so how are we supposed to share this? But there was something else I was gonna say. Oh, so part of the stuff that we're doing in the water, in the access intimacy and water intimacy lab, is we don't all know the words yet for our disability or for our access needs or for our feelings and things like that. So I'm wondering if you need something before this activity to talk about words, kind of like what Karen was saying about being, like be messy and forgiving and kind and, support each other in relearning or unlearning. But we're doing access intimacy journals where we just write down, like we take a day or two and we just write down what our access needs shift, how they shift, and use whatever word comes to mind. And then another day where we're talking about feelings, about not having that access. So, like that kind of thing to build kind of like a group vocabulary too, along with with what Karen said about messing up. Like that could be part of their activity board or their website, or just people collecting those words to make an overall kind of vocabulary that they can always change,
Yeah, I feel
that they
like,
can negotiate like we do, right?
yeah, this lesson was definitely intended to be somewhere later, like definitely not the first one, because it's like, you don't even talk about what even is disability and starting to have
Right.
like
Different models.
yeah, the different models. But I think you also raise a good point of and something I think a lot about is models are pretty limited, at least to some extent. And so wanting to open it up and say use your own words and come up with your language, because this is, I think it's helpful as to open your mind to things that people have already thought of. But I think then pushing people to be able to open that space for them to come up with things themselves, I think is important.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're developing a crypt culture, when you're opening it up to people self-identifying. And I was just going to add too that I don't know if it makes sense to start with an access check,
Totally. I
check
think absolutely.
where people can be just take as little or much time as needed to talk about access needs, or even just self-identify, use their pronouns, their
Yeah, and to understand access isn't just disability, it can be financial or oh God, I gotta go back at 3:30 because I gotta take care of my nana.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Or all this is access.
Yeah.
Or even just I'm super stressed about my a test coming up in my class.
Yeah,
and,
exactly. Yeah.
voicing that.
It's psychological, financial, family care. I'm hungry.
Yeah.
I mean, being hungry impacts people so much.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. How do we understand each other's care needs?
Mhm.
It's oh, Kyoko's hungry. Gotta watch out. Momo's hungry.
Are you hangry? Yes. Absolutely.
I wanted to add something about the Disability 101. The intention behind it was those are the concepts that I've learned in disability studies classes, but wanting to be able to communicate that information to people who aren't in that environment. And my experience with disability activism on campus, nobody knows anything about basic disability studies concepts. And so wanting to be able to where do I go to point people to that information? I can never find anything. And so just creating my own version of that. And so if you want to share it with anyone, I would love, that was kind of the intention at first, to be open to the public, and anyone who's interested, having the bar be low. I don't think I fully executed that, but again, work in progress.
That's
Yeah.
really cool. I'd love to share it with folks.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I'd love to help you with it too.
Yeah.
I'd love to be a part of it. It's yeah, I think it's great. I think it's great. And it's so true. That's the thing I realized really quickly arriving here, that a lot of people didn't know what disability justice was. or is. I mean, it's not was, it is. It's still here, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, it's still going on. And maybe even add a Padlet
Mm,
to your website
Yeah.
that, for suggested
Oh,
reading,
yeah.
you know?
And
And think-
comments, we definitely need a comment there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
it really
comments,
does.
yeah.
Fan filter comments.
Yeah, yeah. You want-
There's also some rad like youth centers too that are like youth liberation spaces. Like there are some in Canada that I know about, but they do a great job of like kind of just speaking to their community in a way that's like accessible, like where they're using plain language and everything. And I'll send a couple sites to you just to
Yeah.
share. But there's this great book. It was by AK Press, and it was called The Radical Handbook for Youth, Stay Solid. And it was by one of these centers. And one of the chapters is about disability. And they kind of just asked a bunch of people, including Sunny and myself, like, what do you wish you knew when you were 16? And it's just kind of on race, on money, on gender, on disability. But yeah, there might be just some kind of, I don't know, some things to look at in terms of like these kind of like self-governed like youth spaces.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'd love to check out those things you were talking about.
Yeah.
All right, so that's kind of it from our end. We're obviously hoping to continue this into the summer and fall, and it's going to be an ongoing project with all our members. Sorry for the chaos on the screen. There's a lot of folks moving in and out, but next, I did have Dana, but looks like she's not here yet. She did inform me that she had a prior appointment, so probably going to be a little bit late. Other than that, I do have
I have a little setup. 'Cause mine's gonna be, this is Moira. Mine's gonna be really just, probably have to go and get the Google Drive.
Okay, do you want to send it to me?
I'd have to do it on the computer because it
Okay.
didn't.
So how about we take the
Or maybe-
next 2 minutes to just like turn the camera off and take a break while we
Okay.
set up?
That's great. All right.
So I'm
so
gonna
that-
turn it off.
Hi, Carmen.
game, I was gonna say that
Okay. Hi, everyone. So Moira and I are just setting up some audio stuff for their presentation. But in the meantime, Dana, would you like to go ahead and talk about academic ableism for like the next 15 minutes?
Okay, that's a shock. I was like, oh, I got some extra time now. Okay. Sure. Let me just give me a minute to get the links and then put them in the
And you need screen sharing privileges, correct?
Don't forget to audio describe everything. I tried to stress.
no images today, actually.
Do you guys know, Carmen and Moira, do you guys know about Alacosta Centers? The in the
Okay, cool. Hopefully those links work. Do they work for people? Actually, you don't, I mean, so the first link is just slides and this is not about the slides really. It's just so that you have it if you want to follow along. And I'm sorry, I didn't provide it before, but mostly going to be talking. And the second one is going to be like a group activity kind of thing. Okay. Wait. Oh, can I share screen?
Yes, I think you are co-host. So at the very bottom, there's a green button that says share screen.
This is like so bad. I don't even know how to like, can I keep it like this? Is it viewable?
We can see this screen. Folks, if it's too small, you can.
Yeah, I need to make the text bigger. I need to know basic PowerPoint skills too. Sorry. Great. Okay. Cool. Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Dana, and I've been privileged and thankful to be working with a bunch of people at the Disability Lab this year and kind of a little bit previously. So I'm putting everyone's name in there. And if I left your name out, I'm so sorry. This isn't so much a presentation of what we've done as it is like taking stock and kind of moving in maybe a different direction. So while also noticing what's wrong with academia, right? So, okay. Basically, for the past, 2 years or so, been like really deep diving into academic ableism. And when Abby presented earlier, everyone can hear me and stuff, right?
Yes.
And when Abby presented earlier this year, we were like brainstorming, like what are examples of academic ableism and like microaggressions and all kinds of things that happen to us on a daily basis, big and small, that are structural, that are interpersonal, all of these things. And so, and I met with Jay Dolmaj who wrote Academic Ableism. I spoke with Aaron Durbin, who I'm going to put these references in a document and share it. I'm sorry that I don't have it written out. Who wrote Anthropology and Ableism recently about ableism and anthropology, which we all knew about, but she's like actually put it in the flagship journal, and we can now point to it and say like, hey, it's a real thing, guys. But I've also been like really active in different groups. Like Rosa has done some amazing work this year, like incredible. There's so many different names for the groups that I don't even have them memorized, but like Anti-Ableism Caucus, like meetings with communities like every 2 weeks, like town halls, all kinds of things. And then we had, so at UCLA, which is where I'm doing my PhD in anthropology, or the Southern campus or the inferior campus, we had like a sit-in for 16 days with the DSU Disabled Students Union and Mother Orgs, which are like a group of like different organizations that are focused on retention and like BIPOC issues and LGBTQ plus issues. And it was a really cool sort of like intersectional in practice kind of thing where you had disabled folks and non-disabled folks coming together along a lot of different identities that would put them in, let's say, if you want to say multiply marginalized, right? But so that also, and then we had a meeting with like all of these different organizations across campus. Rosa helped me, and we like met up with different groups and like asked them what have they been doing at their campus. And like, it's pretty clear that this is like developed a little bit, but some campuses have nothing. And then some campuses have like undergrads only. And so basically like, I wanted to use today to kind of like take a different approach that actually was inspired by Karen. But I first just wanted to let you guys know that like, I didn't do this earlier, but I thought of it now, and it's very unofficial. But I want to just give you like 5 minutes of brief advice that you never asked for about grad school, because sometimes, well, no one told me this, and I found myself talking to people who were thinking about where to go to grad school this year. And I found myself like poring over the documents, you know, the policies and procedures, and being like, you know what, maybe this would be helpful if I sort of made a guide. But I'm focusing on what's best. So like, first thing, make sure that if you go to a PhD program that you will be able to work with a mentor who actually gets it, who really gets it, AKA ideally a disabled person. Allies are great, but you just would have to make sure, and this is all unofficial, like my unsolicited, like unofficial take. Allies are great, but in my situation, I thought I was working with an ally. Of course, this is not Karen, so I am not shit talking anybody. But I thought I was working with an ally, you know, but allyship can be performative, and people don't always understand what it actually means to be a disabled person. And so you gotta be careful, because you do need someone who's gonna support you in terms of like, have your back, like know that you have what it takes, because other people that don't know how to recognize that are set in these ridiculous ways of only recognizing certain things as productive or markers of success are not going to be able to see that. Then other things, and I would love to start like a crowdsourcing to add to this, and I'm going to make a document after this lab. Find networks in your field, right? So it depends, what are networks? Well, there's the Disability Research Interest Group, and I'm not saying bad things about them, but do they support disabled scholars? In my experience, not so much. You can meet disabled scholars in the group and then like talk to them, but it's not like this one, which is darn for psychology students and professors. And it's actually a whole like network where they pair you up with a mentor. Like it's pretty cool. I just found out about this year. And so if anybody has any gems to contribute, I would love to share that. And then just for me, I'm skipping. The way that I did things is like, I found no community in my program, and the program had never really had a disabled PhD student who required academic accommodations. Yay, guinea pig. But I was able to find outside of UCLA this amazing program called Guru, where I was doing research with a professor, but we got to have like these mentor-mentee meetings. And that's how I met Karen, and that's how I met you all. And I am not gonna like wax poetic, but I will say that like UC Berkeley Disability Lab is, I cannot even tell you how different it is to any other space. And I've never even been there physically, and that shouldn't matter, and it doesn't matter. But what I'm saying is like, after I was just in one meeting and I was like, maybe I'll go for like one meeting and see what it's like. And then I was back for every single time. And the sort of like, just the feeling that I can't describe it. It's like another kind of world. And that kind of is gonna lead me into what I'm gonna talk about, but I'm first gonna go back to advice, which is talk to other students, find disabled students, find out what it's really like. And then this is the part where you should definitely contact me if you're interested. There's all kinds of keywords that are actually like, that actually mean like, we're not really so tolerant of anybody who is needing anything besides the norm. So terms like normative degree progress or normative time to degree, or good progress, or satisfactory academic progress, or are you allowed to get incomplete? Things like that. Do they stay on your record permanently like they do at UCLA, therefore making it obvious that you're disabled if you need more time? Will they let you take a reduced course load? Are you still eligible for funding? All of these like pragmatic concerns. If you are thinking about any program, like please contact me. I'm more than happy to like look at the policies and help you wade through it yourselves, like with you, to see like what certain questions might be that you want to look at. And not everything is by the policy also. So it's complicated, right? But I just want to offer that as a resource. Okay, so back to the imagining other possibilities. So I started to think, what about if we could imagine, like, academic ableism is horrible. And I found for me, I started to get like really down when I kept like finding out more and more and more of the like horrible things that happen, as well as like relating to it because it's happened to me, right? So I guess what I wanted to do is like, I want to continue to look at academic ableism, but I also want to like flip it and kind of, so that's why with this document, oh, okay. So with this document, this is kind of where I wanted people to have to like, if you can think of anything here, like it would be amazing. So I'm just going to read the quote from Karen. Sorry, Karen, I did not give you a heads up about this. But So we were talking about ableism, and Karen wrote, what are the more profound changes that would need to happen in academia to be truly anti-ableist? Why do we accept that grad students will have higher levels of psychological distress? Shouldn't we be working on creating environments that aren't actively damaging students rather than giving them band-aids? For grad students, an environment where they can thrive to be the best scholars they can be. So my alternate title is Designing for Us, Intersectional Disability Approaches to Other Worlds. So what I wanted to ask folks, and like this, honestly, a word even is something, is like, just if you relate to anything here, like where have you felt, where during your entire undergrad experience have you felt welcome, safe, able to learn, able to imagine, like your intelligence is just appreciated and acknowledged? All of those things that are the opposite of what happens when you experience ableism on a structural or interpersonal or even internalized level, right? And like, if you could dream of something that's like, for example, Academic Ableism by Jay Dolmage like spends a great deal of time like explaining how the institution is ableist, everything from the physical structure to like historically, etc. Like what I found myself thinking is like, so what would it look like if there was something that wasn't like that? And I found myself a little bit at a loss. And I think that's kind of a direction that would be productive to go. And I was wondering if you all had any ideas. And then like also because everyone has such a different experience and there's so much that we don't know about, like what do you think people don't know about either from your own experience or somebody else that you know or a friend or whatever that like you think might be helpful? Like as an example, even practically speaking, like somebody told me like, this is really practical and kind of like too practical for what I'm going for. But like, I heard that like, if it were open to grad students, like the TRIO program has like some like practical like tools that it offers people, but it's like impossible to get into. And like, I don't know who's heard what about it, but I guess the point is like, what, are there any like places, services, communities, but also issues, problems that like you don't think people are paying enough attention to that you suggest that like might be helpful to look at? So yeah, if you all like have any ideas for this, I kind of believe that like if we can't imagine other worlds, and this is not a new idea, we can't imagine other worlds, then like we're missing part of where we could have a sort of create something different for ourselves while we're also looking at what's wrong with everything so far. I'm not the most eloquent today, but I hope you understand what I'm saying, and I would love any questions or comments. Yeah, why isn't it? See, knowledge sharing, then we're not, that's the thing, right? I don't know. Okay, cool. So yeah, everyone please stop writing so much. I see that you're like filling the page.
whack.
Wow. Kyoko, do you remember the name, or does anyone remember the name of that event this week that was really cool? And Carmen was there, and it was like the art one. It was like the art history conference thing.
Oh, that was yeah, it was like disruptive reentries, it was called.
So I just wrote like, I like the way that the artist collaboratives, what I saw in the conference, because I couldn't remember disruptive re-entries. What I saw, like, I just was thinking about like art and art collaboratives and just the way that you all even were talking together. And like, I just wondered like what can, and there is, art and academia are not two separate fields. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not like making that division, but I guess like I just kind of felt so much more welcome, and like it was so much more of a naturally just like collaborative space, just even sitting there. So I wonder like what can we learn from you all and like art and art collaboratives and stuff. Or maybe I'm using the wrong term.
No, that's a great question. I don't think of art as part of academia, really. I wonder if I need to broaden my definition of academia.
No, I mean, like the only reason why I don't like to exclude it, because like when I was an undergrad, my first year was at Cal, and I was an art and anthropology major. And So like to say like art isn't academia to me sounded like totally, because I'm like, I'm in a class, I'm doing art. Like I did like I made like an installation as part of my final project. So I guess I like I'm not a fan of like siphoning art out, but maybe it's different.
Can we like in my answer, can I reference like places that were outside of academia?
Oh my gosh, please. And like, if anyone thinks of anything after right now, like please add to this document, like I will keep it.
We also only have 20 minutes left for Moira, and I want to give
There's a website.
okay.
Well,
The Soul
This
Center.
this is,
TH.
they're in a groove.
ISTL.
Grooving, yeah.
Should we let them know?
Canadian.
Yeah.
Sorry, I have a hard time hearing sounds, so.
Let's see. So for those at the lab, we do have some guests today. I did send out some information about them, Lotus Laboratories, on our Slack. I don't know if they,
It's
Double, I
closed,
don't
yeah,
know
as
if you
of
were
2015,
there and
but still,
wanting to
it-
talk, but if you
site is
are, we do
great.
have some time for a
Gives you
small
sense of the
introduction.
kind of-
Sure, happy to talk. Hi, everyone. My name is Deval. My pronouns are he and him. And my co-founder is also here. Bhavika, I'll let her introduce herself.
Hi, my name is Bhavika Patel. My pronouns are she and her, and I am very close with Dhaval in our company, Lotus Labs. Thank you.
So we don't actually have a slide deck or anything else to share today, simply because we're actually in process of filing some of our patents right now, so we're not allowed to. But we did want to use this opportunity to actually share kind of what we've been working on. Actually, we've spoken to Nate and Kyoko, and they've been very helpful and been guiding us a fair bit. So a little bit about my personal story. I grew up with a family member that had a disability, my Ajama, my grandmother. She actually had a disability, and we found out later that part of that was because of an undiagnosed illness. It was basically cancer causing fluid buildup in the lungs. And so I grew up watching her in a wheelchair for a decade or more. And then my personal story that actually pushed us into what we're doing today was I identify as a dancer, but because of that, I have a lot of dance injuries, and over the years, they've been getting cumulative. And so I spend more and more time on crutches every year. And in fact, I have a surgery in a few days. So for the better part of this year, I'll be on crutches. And a personal pain point kind of, it got to a point where I would start leaving light switches on and other things on around the house. Existed. And so we decided to start working on at least part of something that helped with that. So on a daily basis, and then long-term potentially with any kind of medical complications that result like it did for my grandmother. So that's kind of what we're working on. The short version description is it's a device that helps you control inanimate objects around your house, like your light switches, doors, drapes, even if it's not connected to the internet. And so some of the pieces of feedback that we've been getting have been from Nate and Kyoko, and they've been giving really good feedback. Happy to share more information with the lab as well. The other half of it is the device also allows anyone to have their vitals monitored if they feel that that would give them a sense of safety. And so some of the people we've spoken to have actually shared that, where one of the lived experiences we were lucky enough to get shared with was a person with seizures. She's actually had surgery and has not had seizures in over a year, but she still doesn't feel comfortable and safe going out and doing things on her own. And so she actually shared that she would like to have something where she felt like someone knew at all times how she was doing. And if there was a complication that resulted, then someone could come to her assistance or help her. or at least tell her family members where she was and what was happening. And so that's kind of the device that we're working on currently. We have some prototypes. We were looking to the lab for kind of to partner with on multiple different fronts. Actually, the easiest would be if anyone would be willing to share their story, their personal pain points. We have ours on our own team, but we've been doing this for the past 7 or 8 months. Like I said, some of these stories are the ones I shared today. We have other team members as well who've had family members or themselves in that situation. So the more lived experiences, the better. We're trying hard to make sure that we're not building something that's in isolation. It's a common problem with engineers. I'm an engineer. Actually, a lot of my colleagues have done that in the past. And so something we're actively working on is making sure that's part of the, it's not an afterthought, it's part of the process of building something from the get-go. And so it's part of the DNA, so to speak. The other is, so if you have any stories to share, that would be wonderful. But if you want to try the prototype, or if you want to come join our team, if you want to intern with us, we're very early on, full disclosure. So we're in the very, very, very early phases. So it's a small team, but that's what we're trying to do. And then, anything else, if you have comments, thoughts, feedback, really anything at this point, anything would be helpful. So in a nutshell, that's kind of what it is. We figured we could open the floor up for any questions. Also, Bhavika, if you would like to share anything, please go ahead. Not to put you on the spot or anything.
I want to echo a lot of what Dhaval was saying. We are individuals who really want to be immersed in knowing who might be the beneficiaries of what we're building. And we don't always know all of the things. If we don't live it day in and day out, it's hard to know all the ins and outs of it. And even if you have someone very close to you, sometimes it's very hard to still understand. So, having a group of people who, like you all, are, looking into some of these things yourselves in very different ways, and just getting the chance to be here, listening to what you all have been working on, has been so enlightening. I've been furtively kind of taking notes to the side, being like, oh, wow, I didn't think of this and I didn't think of that. So very lucky to have you guys invite us here. If you do have something that you want to share even now, or kind of want to have our contact information, I'm happy to kind of put that in the post, in the communication area down in the bottom area, lower right, in order for you to feel free to reach out to us with more information about what we might be doing that you might be able to help us with, outside of even just sharing your lived experience.
Yeah, there's a question.
Raised hand.
Yeah, I do have a question here. Let me lower my hand now, because you mentioned that what you're working on has a monitoring capacity. I was wondering what it monitors, because currently I'm researching long COVID, and more Americans are expected to be diagnosed with long COVID, and it's a mass disabling effect. And a lot of people experience physical chronic fatigue, symptoms that resemble chronic fatigue syndrome, and they have elevated heart rate. So I was just curious what the monitoring would look like, and then how people would be notified. I'm thinking the Citizen app or something like that. So just a little more information would be really interesting.
Bhavika?
Yeah, great question. Initially heart rate, oxygen are going to be the two main things that we're able to very quickly kind of put together in a device, even in our prototype. We are working on how to get the temperature, which is a little bit trickier from what Dhaval explains to me. I have a lot of asks about different types of vitals that I would like to be on the device, and Dhaval is entertaining me and helping to figure out how we might actually do that. So initially, yes, heart rate and oxygen. And the nice thing about monitoring is that, there would be an availability to some type of knowledgeable healthcare professional who might be able to kind of weigh in on what that means and if there's something that needs to be acted on. When Dhaval and I were initially starting off, we realized that there were many people out there who are constantly trying to figure out what is the next step in whatever XYZ symptom management or healthcare condition. And, they would Google something or WebMD something, and they may or may not realize which one is applicable to them in a knowledgeable fashion. So part of this is trying to make sure that people aren't inadvertently doing the wrong thing for themselves. And the other part is, well, you don't always know when your oxygen is low or when your heart rate is high, or when your temperatures are off. You don't always know that. Some people can feel absolutely normal. And what we want to avoid is people unnecessarily having poor outcomes just because of those things. So hopefully, those are some few things we can get started on, but I'm sorry that that's partially what you've been going through. That's an awful feeling, and it's hard when you don't even know when the end is on the horizon. So hope you get better soon.
Yeah, and I'm reading the chat window to the points that are being made. I agree. So my background's in engineering, and I've worked on some of the other products also that exist out there. On a more personal level, for instance, I identify as an immigrant. I'm actually first generation immigrant. And so I've now been in the US for about 18 years, so it's been some time, but I didn't grow up here. And my parents, for example, are still not here. And they're on the older side, and I do worry about them. And so, for instance, the part of the goal with the second, the part we're describing currently is to be able to give it to them. So I know that they're okay, but I can't look at that because I'm not a doctor or a physician or even a medical expert in any capacity. And right now, what tends to happen is they tend to guess for themselves. They decide for themselves when it's okay, when they need help, and they decide for themselves when they don't. And they're not medical professionals. And so, at least in that capacity, especially with COVID, it's been a worrisome thing. And my parents do have certain chronic conditions, and so it's been tricky while they're trying to act as their own kind of physicians in some way. And so that's been, and we found it's a common problem. Most people tend to sort of give it some time and wait, even if they do experience something. And what often doesn't get taken into account is how things could get worse if you wait. Usually you tend to give it a few more days. We'll just give it some time and see what happens. And my parents do this all the time. So yeah, and so anyway, that's part of what we're trying to do, which is sort of increase access in some ways, but the right kind of access.
Definitely as a lab, I think that's part of what we are all trying to do. So thanks for explaining a little bit about Lotus Labs. If you're interested in them, their information is posted in our Slack. And of course, they're here right now. So I assume that your chat boxes are open. Otherwise, we are going to move to...
Thank you.
Thank you. Water access. Okay, so, and they will be sharing from my computer.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. My name is Moira. I'm wearing a blue baseball cap today with like a cloud, happy cloud. That's very colorful patch on my baseball cap that was co-created about a couple years ago with a climate disability and climate change activity that I did with some awesome disabled young people. I also have long dark hair that's pulled over to the side. It's over my shoulder. I have a colorful mask. The colors kind of match the patch. I have dark blue eyes. I'm looking a little tired today. I'm feeling a little tired today. It's Friday. And I have a denim jacket, dark blue denim jacket on that's got a collar and long sleeves. And I'm working with the awesome Water Intimacy, Access Intimacy Lab, or vice versa. You can say it either way, I think. It's interchangeable. And today I'm just going to share one of the things that we've really been working on to be inclusive and would invite you all to help us with that, is some audio description, because we've recorded in a way to get more intimate with water. We've been walking through the water, and I have a hydro mic that I will show really quickly. That is, I've made several of these, but for this occasion, I went out and got a scientific one, which is really not that expensive, but oh, so much better made than what I do. And it's essentially looks like, it looks, yeah, I was gonna say, it looks like a vibrating sex toy. Or
It's description, vibrating sex toy on a long table.
with nice chrome. It's like a nice size, the perfect size, but it's like shaped like a pill. And it's got a black, one part of it's black on the bottom. So it's like this rounded oblong pill shape. And it has stainless steel on the top, and it has a long black wire that you connect into a recording device. And just to let you know a little bit about it, the hydro mic goes under the water for you to hear what's going on underwater. And you can hear fish, you can hear you can hear a lot of things, like fish, meaning we could hear the crawfish moving in the creek, and rocks moving in different ways that the water was moving with us, around us, and on its own around different objects. But inside, just to let you know, like the tech part, it balances with oil in it, and it just has a piezo in there. And a piezo is just like one of those round copper metal discs that you see put into a lot of techie things to collect sound. It's like a miniature microphone, but it also has it has a little more high-tech stuff in there too that I don't fully understand, but it sounds really good. So we recorded some sounds, walked with the Strawberry Creek right outside here, and recorded some things. And just to help everyone with some ideas about audio description, because that's what I'm going to invite you to do, let me grab my glasses, sorry. When we were working with this, we realized, and we kind of realized before that I'm going to share my screen now. I think, can I ask for some help? So if I share screen, and I just want to show this one really quick. Thank you, everyone. Okay, so. Oh, sorry. You may not be able to play this, but we're going to try. But we realized pretty quickly that a lot of the stuff we're working on within our work, if we're going to get intimate, we want to be absolutely inclusive. We want to have this.
Wait, you cut out. You were saying something and it cut out, for me at least.
Yeah, I need to share the audio, my bad.
Okay. But we realized pretty quickly that we need to be more inclusive with our audio description for people who are low hearing and deaf. So with this recording that we're going to hear in a minute, if people want to either speak out loud or put in the chat, describe the sounds, that would be awesome. And some of the sound descriptions that came up through the day of recording and day of listening and exploring audio description were also feelings. One person, Julie Lang, described that she loves the really plunk, harsh sounds that happen by the waterfall. It felt like she was really safe. And Brittany described some of the deeper sounds of when she put the mic underneath this short, like 2-foot waterfalls that were directly under the bridges. And she also felt very safe with that sound. And it was very comforting and soothing to her and relaxing. So just even moments that you can relate to that speak to your emotions or a place or even any kind of quirky sound kind of descriptions of like a plink or a plunk or a plop or a ooh, or even sounds. You can think of one of the places I really love to look to for nature description or sound description that's a little more fun is Cornell Ornithology, when they describe a bird call with a key, ah, ooh, ee, like those kind of sounds are awesome too. So we're gonna play the water recording.
Can someone speak a little I couldn't really hear what was just said, sorry.
Oh, I said, I know there's a digital art class that compare sounds with animation.
Yeah, Greg Niemeyer's, that's his whole thing.
Oh, cool. So, hi, Moira again. I have just want to share with you what we've been talking about, because we've been talking about also different ways to visualize the sound. And if anyone wants to share any ideas they might have, we were thinking about the Karen mentioned ferrofluids and animation and other ways to think about how we could visualize these water sounds besides audio description. I'd love to hear any ideas if anyone has any. And also any of your audio descriptions if you're into doing that or just wanted to relax is great too, because I know it's the time of the semester. Relaxation is important.
Oh, we're out of time now. Officially. Are we?
Oh. Okay.
So that was a nice time.
Thank you.
For folks who have to leave because it is the end of lab.
Bye, thank you. This is Laura saying thank you.
But also this Zoom is going to be held open for the next, however long that we're here. So if anyone wants to just stick around and hang out. We'll be here. Okay, Gloria said, I hear natural running water with sporadic plunks, marking the moments when objects fall deeper and disrupt the water's
beautiful.
streaming surface. The water then begins to flow more gently and quietly, but continuously. Finally, the water is enlivened once again. It is louder and seemingly more rapid. The sound of plunks return. I think I'd see this in colors. Light blue for gentle
nice,
water,
nice.
moments of dark for plunks, etc.
I love synesthesia. Like,
I have synesthesia.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I do too.
cool.
I love that. Thank you. That was beautiful.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
Gloria is amazing. So you can link up with Gloria in any way.
Oh, great. Gloria, if you're still there, I would love to.
I think she's around over the summer, not volunteering Gloria for anything, but I think Gloria is around over the summer.
Just to hang out and have coffee or something.
I am around. I love I like audio description. I don't know why, maybe because I like talking a lot, and I really enjoy it. So if you ever have space for people to just listen to your sounds, I'd derive deep satisfaction from that.
Oh, that's really great. Yes, I would love to hang out and talk more about audio description with you and learn more about your project too.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. I've never heard of this. Art, artistic representation of sound. And I copy and paste that. Well, yeah, thank you everyone. I have to go pack Friday folders at my daughter's school now. Enjoy your weekend.
Thank you. Bye.
Nate, do you want to stop sharing? Or sorry, recording?
Thank you, Dana.